Hello everyone, I'm back with another video. So in today's video I'm here with Garuda Linux. I am back at using this Linux distribution for some time. I had it on my other SSDs and storage system, but I have not been using it because I had like Windows working stuff and with Deepin also in work. So now I am basically using Garuda Linux. Also, from time to time, I'm using Deepin and Windows. So first of all, what I like at Garuda is its personality. So it has kind of its own design and animations and all the cool stuff. I'm not really a fan of this, let's say, color scheme and all the transparency or fancy effects, but it kind of gives the Linux distribution personality, in my opinion, and in a good way also. So first of all, let's have a look at what configuration, what small tricks and tips I made to this distribution. So in that way, I am going to work more efficiently, let's say, and more pleasant for me. And again, it's my opinion, not a general rule or something like that. Considering Garuda Linux is based on KDE Plasma, it can be configured and tweaked. In that way, everyone will, let's say, be happy with the design and the look of the distribution. So first of all, let's see here, it provides Garuda Linux Setup Assistant, so it's kind of a shortcut and a template for configurations and all the settings you may need in this distribution. So let's have a look at the first section. We have here system update. We have clear package, remove database lock, clear caches and all the stuff, refresh keyrings. So the system update is very interesting here because they did a script. So basically when you open the terminal and run their script, it's sudo garuda update. It no longer uses the pacman command with those arguments, but directly a script. So you can check for update and do much more besides simple update. It checks chaotic hour. AUR basically is their own, let's say, not developed by themselves, but compiled, pre-compiled binaries from the AUR. So refreshing the mirror list and RAID mirrors also added to the script, so it will be the fastest mirror available to be the optimal speed and the update being faster. Here we also have a few other repositories from the community, from the Garuda itself, from the pacman and other core extra and libraries that may need for the system. So it uses Linux Zen kernel. It's pretty stable kernel and widely used on some distributions for its hardware compatibility. Here we have version 6.1, we have KDE Plasma, version 5.26, so it's basically built on KDE Plasma. And here also added some fancy interesting animations. We have better FS assistant for the file system. We have here the support for plugins that we have to select if we want to use them. So basically here we have support for audio pipewire, pulse audio, and using real-time group. Also, I did not include the input method for Asian formats or other stuff. Virtualization we can use, VirtualBox and other stuff. Firewall we can use. Printing I enable. I have a printer, I have tested the printer and it works pretty good. Bluetooth and video codecs. In settings we have here interesting stuff. There is a performance tweaks and power saved tweaks. So here we also can select DNS, switch shells with fish instead of bash and other stuff, install default shell configurations. Most of this will be preset, but when you first install the distribution, it will ask Usually, if you are on the desktop, you can enable this performance tweaks. The wizard will ask basically if you want to use additional performance tweaks in cost of energy, let's say, and it will offer to enable automatically these ones. Also, you can enable here manually for performance. This one is basically connected with CPU scheduling and preload enable. So preload is basically on any other distro where you can open faster the applications after some time of using the same applications. Also, we have power save tweaks. This one is useful on laptops. I have been using these tweaks for my laptop, especially auto CPU frequency. So this one will basically trigger the response from the CPU in a dynamic way. So it will go on low frequency and loading when it's on battery, and will boost to the frequency and the voltage when the laptop is connected to a power source. And another, we have right-click emulation. Another, again, we can use Intel Undervolt, so it's pretty advanced configuration here. I can say this distribution is really advanced and very complex, using all the KDE frameworks plus its own system configurations and options enabled by the Garuda developers themselves. So it's a very powerful distribution and at the same time pretty convenient to use, because you don't have to use the terminal, but you can use the interface and all the configuration stuff from the settings directly. So this distribution again is in favor of using graphical user interface and not the terminal, as many consider that Linux distributions will use only the terminal stuff. Also, the terminal stuff is there and will work, and there is also available option for using the graphical interface. So here we have a Garuda Gamer. We can install basically the Steam and some interesting libraries and dependencies. I have chosen the DXVK, so this option when you launch the games in DirectX 9, 10 and 11 will convert to Vulkan API, and game mode for additional optimization when applications run on the full screen. So DXVK is very useful and interesting because DirectX is basically not available in Linux, but those are compiled using compatibility layers like Wine and Proton and other things. Also, DSVK Vulkan API is available in Linux, so will be much easier to use the emulation from converting DirectX titles to Vulkan API. In some cases, of course, with gain of performance in games. Gaming is really stable here, and in some cases maybe stability issues, but usually I have not encountered any problems with the games on the Steam. I'm using the Steam library basically. Also, we have emulators, game itself, and few other things here. Another thing, we have Garuda Settings Manager, so we can choose basically the kernel if you want to install additional kernel. Also, we can use the language packages, hardware configuration, time, user accounts, and a few other advanced settings. And now let's see the settings itself. It's basically the look and the feel of KDE Plasma settings. So it has dark and light theme. It has have chosen to send user feedback, so it will improve for developers to know what system I am running and what things I'm running on the distribution itself. In appearance, we can choose the themes available here. I have tested some additional themes like Butterfly Sweet or Sweet Amber Blue. Also, you can use standard KDE Plasma design like Breeze and Breeze Twilight. Also from the global themes, you can choose from the store basically any theme you can ever use on a Linux distribution. Even you can make it look like Zorin OS or something like that, which is very nice and interesting again. You can have a lot of options here and see every theme available basically. Application style, Quantum Dark I am using. Plasma styles we use Sweet. Colors we have Sweetified, and window decorations I'm using Sweet Dark Transparent for the effect on the bar, and here at the above also effect of transparency. On fonts I have left them default. Icons I'm using Beauty and Line. Cursor basically also Sweet cursors, and size 24 I can change also to bigger size, which is interesting. Feedback, these ones I have let them, even you can use splash screen if you want, I am not using them. Another thing is workspace behavior, so here you can trigger the animation speed, so like this animation you can choose how slow or how fast to be, and not only that, in general other animations like maximize, minimize and other things. Click files by clicking files or open folders by clicking them. Basically, it opens them only one click, which is convenient. In some cases, it depends. I mean, you can choose to double click instead and use like a standard Windows. I prefer a single click, and this situation for me is more convenient. Clicking in the scroll bar track scrolls on the page up or down. This one is left default. And desktop effects, I have added some interesting ones. I have enabled blur and fall apart settings. So when I close an application, for example, Dolphin, it will fall apart and make an animation interesting look. And I like it because it doesn't really feel very heavy or impact the system performance in general. So it is a nice effect and interesting to use. Also from the effects, I'm using magic lamp effect. Here I can also set the delay, so how fast it will be the animation itself. I have set a reasonable delay, so it won't be very slow, it won't be very fast. So kind of natural animation for basically uh, the look of the window itself, so to look more natural. Focus, we have dialog dim inactive, so when I'm opening, for example, another window, it will be kind of dark and dim lighting on the other window. So it's a nice effect, so it will be the current window in the focus and not the previous window. Again, it's a very nice effect and sometimes very useful. Also, we have fade, so when I minimize, for example, it will kind of fade, not directly scale or glide. Also, there is option for that. Screen edges I'm using here for overview, basically. You can use also another corner, for example, this one to use for overview. It will behave like the hot corner. And also you can disable and use any other corner from the below, from the above, or from the middle of the screen. Also, it will work with touch screen. If you have a touch screen, you can select here also overview or desktop grid or other settings like lock the screen, pick a desktop, and so on. Screen locking, you can set the time. Virtual desktops also. There are a few configurations here. Activities is default, recent files also defaults. Window management, we have here also another configuration, and I also enable force blur in some situations. So I can use Kvin script, so it can do much more things additionally besides the effects and the graphics. Also, we have let the desktop dock. So this dock is from the latter kind of a program which uses the same configuration as in the settings. So here we have basically the Latin dock and the presets I have set here for the dock itself. It isn't really changed from the default, but few other things I have changed, like the length, the relative size, the zoom on hover, the margins, I have set them, and few other effects like opacity and thickness, so it will be arranged and very, very well placed here. Also, another thing, we have shortcuts. Shortcuts, it basically allow configuration for everything. You can set manual shortcuts. There are some default here. Like you can, for example, just start typing on the desktop and will behave like a Finder. So you can use the Start Super button to access the basically menu here with the applications. So another thing, we have startup and shutdown. I have chosen this theme here for SDDM. You can also choose get new themes, any theme you may want. Background services, which one may run in the background. We have here desktop session, auto start. Okay, search, I haven't changed basically anything, but you can choose to display or not every search option available. So it will search between any setting or even the web, the console commands or other stuff. Notifications we have here, how they may look and how to display. There are also a lot of options for them. Regional settings, you can choose the time zone and the region where you are. Also file associations, we have for different type of file formats, which one to open, which application to open. We have accessibility things also. For example, for mouse navigation, there is like use the number pad to move the cursor and other tricks, let's say. We have offline accounts for setting in offline mode, like user feedback. I have chosen to provide the feedback, so it will improve the general distribution. Connections, we have with a wired connection I'm using currently, we can use also the Wi-Fi. If Wi-Fi is not appearing here, you may install additional drivers, like from the Marvel Semiconductors. It's available in AUR and in Pacman. So let's see, firewall, if it's installed. Input devices, mouse and keyboard. Also you can select acceleration profile and the speed of general mouse. Display and monitor, you can set the resolution and how the compositor is behaving. Here I am using X11, so it is available compositor configuration. So if you are using a version with Wayland, it may not available all the, let's say, fancy graphics and the effects of the distribution, which is another plus and minus, depends on how you are looking at that situation. Audio, we have here power management. Is not really much things to do here. I'm on a desktop, not on battery. On battery there are a lot more options. Bluetooth, I'm not enabling it. Removable storage and printers. Thunderbolt. And about this system. So the system, as I said, is KDE Plasma version 5.26. KDE frameworks, we have 5.10. Qt version, we have 5.15. And kernel version is 6.1.4 Zen 2 kernel. Also, when I did the initial setup assistant, it offers a lot of things to install from there. So basically, I have chosen there to use the PAMAC, the graphical user interface from the Archie distributions. I'm currently using instead of Octopi, it's another thing Garuda provides to install the packages that you may need. It's like a PAMAC, let's say, but more advanced. So here we have basically a lot of options to install packages and repositories from official Garuda, from Pacman, and from the AUR and chaotic AUR. You can search here or find any package install from here, but I prefer to use the graphical mode, let's say. Discord we have here. I prefer using the graphical mode for easier and more convenient way to open all the applications I have installed or find any new applications I may need. So I'll close this one and right here start writing PAMAC. So it will open basically the interface. I have option to use the terminal also for the PAMAC command, but I have chosen to use the graphical version, let's say. So here we have the installed applications and I can search for new applications. For example, Discord will show here only Office. Only Office is usually pre-installed with Garuda, which is very nice. And only Office you can find also here from the AUR repositories and the official supported ones. And here also there is basically questions and the applications you may need when you install first the Garuda setup system. Here is also available the PAMAC and other format for applications, for App Store's applications. Let's see, in email we have Thunderbird, in Office browsers, kernels we have LTS versions, TAT, and other things. Software centers we have GNOME firmware, Octopi, PAMAC, Discovery, GNOME software, and other. You can use many app stores and many application stores for the installation of your favorite applications. Here we have input. You can select for Asian languages and other additional input, let's say. And here we have also additional resources like their website, their forum. If something happens, if there is a problem, let's say, you can open their forum. So it will be here in the Garuda Linux. You also can donate for the project and contribute to their development. So if I run here garudalinux.org, the official website, here we can find all the available distributions, versions, and the interface and configuration for all of the available flavors, let's say, of the Garuda Linux with different desktop environments and different things. It's XFCE version, Cinnamon, GNOME. I'm using currently Dragonized version with KDE, the main one, and how many say the most powerful one, let's say. It's also available Garuda i3, Qtile, I think it's pronounced, Garuda Linux KDE Lite, and KDE Git. So this one are basically bare bones, so aren't with any packages and things installed additionally. Comparing to the last few years, let's say, Garuda is now more simplified and doesn't use a lot of packages that may not need at the average user. So it is lighter, and even the ISO installation is around 2.5 gigabytes, so it's much improved compared to the previous, when it was cluttered and basically crowded with a lot of packages which average user may not need. Of course, if advanced user may need those packages, they can anytime switch to them and offer option to install them. So that was for today's video. Thanks again for watching and see you in the next one.